Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another video. And today's will probably be a little bit shorter because I'm answering a question that I've seen pop up more and more frequently, and that's the idea of a successor to the Venator Class Star Destroyer. And I think this discussion probably stems from something that's popped up on Wikipedia. I'm not exactly sure when the Star Wars wiki made this change, but if you look up Venator-II, you do actually get an article, albeit a stub, with the Venator-II Class Star Destroyer. And the article says, the Venator-II was a model of Venator Star Destroyer used by the Republic Navy that was active during the Clone Wars between the Republic and CIS. The vessel was the successor of the Venator-I Class Star Destroyer. And this is interesting because in Legends, certainly, we never really have the distinction between different Venator variants or a Venator lineage, and that's not really something we've officially gotten in canon either, at least not overtly. The Venator-I also has an article with some difference. But what does this actually mean? Where does this all come from? Well, it comes from Fantasy Flight Games, and specifically the Republic Reinforcements Pack for Star Wars Armada. Star Wars Armada is a tabletop game. If we look at the stats between the two ships, the Venator-II is actually different in game. The Venator-I has stats of 3 command, 3 squadron, and 4 engineering. The Venator-II has 3 command, 5 squadron, and 4 engineering, but the same firepower and everything else. So just some changes apparently on the squadron side, but what does this actually translate to? Is this a real ship? Well, this is kind of interesting. The image they used for the Venator-II is from Revenge of the Sith, and the interesting thing is that Revenge of the Sith actually does have a slightly different Venator than the Clone Wars. Notably, if you look at the hangar, and there are a few people who have pointed this out, the Venator from the Clone Wars really just has 2 doors that slide apart. Yet, as we see especially in that scene where Obi-Wan leaves, the Venator has a smaller door that can be opened up, and that's clearly not evident or present in the other models. So that's definitely one difference, and some other people have pointed out other minor differences about the internal hangar structure. That's sort of beyond me. I know Scout the Trooper on Twitter has covered some of that, but either way, there is at least some evidence for some variancy among the Venator, so I think having it separated into 2 different classes, even if the class difference is so minor that usually a Venator is a Venator, does make sense. It's hard to tell if there's really any other intended changes because we really do see the Venator largely in the Clone Wars, and that show is heavily stylized. The proportions do look a little different to me, but that's probably just an effect of the show. Any other differences are very, very minor. So if I were to make the lore up for the Venator-II, which I don't think has been established yet, my suggestion would simply be that the Venator-II made some small adjustments to the class based on early experience with the ship from the early years of the Clone Wars. So for example, sometimes you don't want to have to open up your entire hangar to let a ship out. That's why we've got that smaller hangar bay door. Maybe the internal structure has also underwent some small changes, and thus engineering is easier. I don't know, just an idea. That sort of brings us to the question though, is Star Wars Armada even canon? And my answer to that is sort of. Star Wars Armada and FFG generally draws from the canon rather than making any wide sweeping changes. Sometimes there are additions, ships that aren't pictured, etc., but those are mostly used for either tabletop or role-playing game experiences. I hold it in a sort of gray area, and here's what Matt Martin from Lucasfilm said in 2018. There are always concessions made for the sake of gameplay, but it's probably about as close to canon as you could get, if that makes any sense. I'd say that about any FFG title released in recent years. So keep in mind, as is the case with all games when it comes to FFG, they're trying to make things that are fun to play and that add to the tabletop experience. So by having a different Venator, that's really all you're doing, not trying to establish some massive system of multiple Venators in the galaxy. And this actually isn't the first ship that Armada has given a second class to. Armada also introduced the Starhawk class battleship Mark II, which was of course a successor to the Mark I. And we even have an Executor II class Super Star Destroyer. Again, not really worth overthinking. But guys, that's all I have for today. If there's anything you'd like to contribute regarding the differences of Venator Star Destroyers or FFG or Star Wars Armada, or if you have a question you'd like me to answer or cover in a future video, let me know down in the comments. I promise we'll get back to the Ask X pretty soon. To be honest, my video making time has gone way downhill as I'm sleep training our new kid and just very busy, but I promise I'll get back to it soon. And I'm definitely going to start going through them all when I have a chance, so if you have a question, leave it with the hashtag AskEck. Until next time though guys, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.